Hi guys, welcome back to episode 5 of Mom Can You Not? My name is Corinne Sky and this is my beautiful co-host, my mama.
Hello.
How are
Hi,
you
guys.
today, babes?
I'm fine. I'm much. I don't know what I'm trying to say. I'm okay. Yeah, that's the word that was failing to come out. I'm good.
You good?
Yeah.
So I was thinking that we skipped like some of the stories. So I thought maybe we could like do a rewind and either talk about like what it was like raising me, or in the other episode you were speaking about at the time when you were in university. That's when you found out Rio had autism. So you can talk about that, or just like motherhood, your experience of being a mother.
My experience of motherhood. Like I've said on many platforms, when I've spoken to people, because I get every month or every 2 months, I get somebody who comes to me and says, oh, life as a mother is kicking me up there. I don't know what to do. The weirdest thing is we are given children without any manuals, are we? You're just given a child and you are told to keep them alive for as long as you can. If you don't keep them alive, we'll charge you with murder, or we'll label you as an unfit or incompetent parent. But I don't know what yardstick we are being measured on, because there's never one. So parenting to me has been, I started very early. I started as a teenager. Or some of you were going to do their GCSEs. I had a baby. And one of the biggest things I found about being a parent, right, is that don't be frightened to ask for help. I was lucky that with Coco, we were still back home, so I had a big community of family that were willing to help. But here it's a very difficult situation because everybody is busy. Everybody's trying to, catch the elusive pound. So people are now sort of like stuck in houses with their children. So if you're going through that same situation, you're not in isolation. Many people are. And it's good. Again, social media is brilliant because some people have started sort of like forming little WhatsApp groups where they support each other. So there's no shame in doing whatever you need to raise them kids, because it is hard in this country. Like for me, my journey was fairly difficult because being an immigrant and on top of that being a parent is hard. And there were so many mishaps, so many interesting things that happened whilst raising my children. But ultimately, I am very glad that they all turned up alive. None of them are dead, but it was very, very hard, particularly with Rio. There's something that people always say, about that, being a parent and being a professional, because Rio was formally diagnosed when I was actually practicing as an occupational therapist. And at this point, I'd met many children with autism. But, there's this comfort we give each other or ourselves that can never be me, or that would never happen to me, or if it happens, I'll handle it differently. So I had this young boy who wasn't meeting many of his milestones like any other child. But because, in a way, although he was my second child, I was a new mom.
You hadn't been a new mom for 13 years.
For 13 years.
Yeah, so it was as good as...
It's just not...
And you'd never given birth in this country.
Yeah.
Like, it was different.
It was different. So to me, it was quite a new experience, if you like. So there is the element that you want to be the best mother you can, being a single parent as well. You also want to be able to be a professional, be able to provide for this child. But there's other things that are, boiling down within their growth, within their ability to meet their milestones. So Rio wasn't talking, When other children were starting to talk, Rio was not talking. And when other children were starting to do certain things, he wasn't doing them. So it was very difficult. But as a parent, I think at that particular moment, I wasn't ready for that conversation. I buried my head in the sand and hoped for the best. So, Rio went to nursery. Nursery would mention things, but I think I just didn't want to hear it. I didn't want to process it. I wasn't ready for it. So I just sort of put it at the back burner and just hoped for the best. So eventually Rio moved from nursery, went to primary school. Now, when he got into primary school, clearly he just stuck out like a sore thumb, because there's these baseline things that they expect children of his age to be doing. He wasn't doing any of those. So I was called in by the primary school teacher. And at that point, because deep down, you've got an inclination, that things are not okay with my son. But now having it verbalized by somebody else, now it's the truth, isn't it? It's out there because everybody now knows. So she was lovely, her reception teacher. She says, we'll support you along the way, and we'll see what can be done, what can be put in place for him. So, the thing is, I think everyone within the system in this country means very well. But the system in this country, when it comes to children with special needs, the person who's got the loudest voice gets served. So if you're one of those parents who are very complacent or who are very understanding, this system will do a number on you, particularly if your child has got needs that need support to be put in place. So what then happened was the teacher made a referral to, and I had to go and see our GP, and then the process started from there, and then they started doing the assessments for him. It's not it's as straightforward as I'm saying, because I was speaking to somebody fairly recently who was saying that things have changed in the system where you have to now go to the school. So the school and yourself have to agree that there are challenges both in the school system and at home for the GP to actually start making the referral. So there are so many things that change in the system, and there's a lot of waiting, a lot of faffing around, and a lot of professionals are involved, and they all have to agree on the same diagnosis. So it's literally putting your child's future out there with strangers who actually don't know him, who are assessing him and making a decision on a very small snapshot of their life. So it was really tough, I have to say. But I was glad that it taught me a lot about the system itself. It taught me a lot about myself, and it taught us a lot as a family, because I think, as much as I like talking about the journey, I don't really like getting into the nitty-gritties of that, because I think it's real story to tell. I can only tell it from a mother's perspective, that my challenges in getting this diagnosis were not as difficult as service provision. The diagnosis part, everybody played their ball, everybody rocked up. It was when it came to putting the services in place. What are services going to be like for real? So that's where the fight came, because some people were thinking, because of the diagnosis he had, they didn't want him in mainstream school. But I was adamant that for his formative years, I wanted him in mainstream school, because one of the things that I noticed right from the outset with Rio was that he's got a tendency of copying any behavior. So I was thinking, if he went to a specialist provision at that time in his life, then you'd copy all the behavior that wasn't acceptable. So I wanted him to be in a normal setting, if you like, and see how relating normally was like. So, and also there wasn't any issues, because if he was given the right support, he would thrive in mainstream primary school. So that's where the challenges came, because you had teachers who had a very strong feeling about Rio not being there, and there were teachers who were very compassionate about my perception, my view as a parent. So that's where you need to be very headstrong. And if you're feeling that the system is overwhelming you, there are independent, impartial services out there that, there's, organizations like Sendias who can come and support you in very challenging conversations if you feel that you cannot have them. With me, I thrive in challenging conversations. I can have it with anyone because ultimately there was only one person in that whole loop, in that whole conversation who was important, and that was my son. So I want to be able to look into Rio's eyes as he grows up and say, every time I've been presented with difficult decisions or difficult conversations, I've always made a best interest with you at heart. So because of that, I want to say it without faltering. I find myself fighting anyone and everyone if they are not seeing Rio the way we see him. But it was a journey, a very difficult one, and it continues to be a difficult one because we are always having to plan ahead. I'm pleased that now Rio is very verbal. Rio can tell you what he wants, what he needs. So I know exactly what to advocate for. Then when he didn't have speech, I was just going by what I anticipated to be his needs, what I thought was required of him. And that is very difficult to do. But right now we know what to advocate for because Rio tells us. Rio tells us all the time what he wants, what he needs. And he's such a beautiful, beautiful boy. His soul is so giving, and he loves his nieces, he loves his sister, he loves me. And all the things that we were told that he won't be able to achieve, things like empathy. I think Rio can empathize, Rio can love, Rio knows exactly.
Even seeing like emotions, it's like,
yes.
oh, he wouldn't be able to get emotions, but Rio knows if like somebody's happy, if somebody's sad.
I know men who are normal, who don't understand emotions, but Rio understands emotions very well. And, he's the man of the house. He's there's so many women in the house. He's very gentle with the girls. He knows exactly where his space is. He knows when to use his masculinity and when not to. He is so in tune, and that's a blessing in itself. That despite of he doesn't live to his diagnosis, he's just living his life. Because if you ask my Rio any day, he'll say, "I'm just living my life." Yeah, I'm just living my life.
Just living my life.
Yeah.
What you were saying about the mainstream school, one of the first things what they were saying about social interaction, and I think making that decision to fight for him to stay in mainstream school was a really good one because Rio's one of the most social people you ever meet.
He is so social. Rio loves holidays, right? Rio loves flying. He loves doing things that are, anything to do with outdoorsy, the water, seeing different spaces. That's my Rio. So we went to Lanzarote so what happened was, during the COVID time, we would be told, oh, we're out of quarantine and stuff like that. So there was that start-stop kind of situation. So we had a holiday booked before, and then we couldn't go because COVID was COVIDing. And then we were told, now we can go. So we went, but you had to travel with, then we had to do what was it called?
Those COVID tests.
Yeah, the COVID tests, the ones that the PSA, P something, those ones, those tests. So we didn't know. And then, because again, what was happening, from UK, out living the UK, didn't have to have a P something test. But when you got to the countries you're going, you had to show them the PSA. It was a very confusing time. Anyway, Rio was adamant he wanted to go on this holiday. He didn't know, but I just thought, what, let me take him. We'll see what happens as we go along. And we went to Lanzarote, right? So it was myself and Rio. So we get to the airport. This is now in Lanzarote. We'd left the UK. We are now in Spain on trying to get our flight to Lanzarote. So they say, oh, you need to have this P something test, which we didn't have. So they're like, oh, so if you don't have it, you have to go back to the UK. And then Rio goes, oh, I was so looking forward to go to be on this holiday. And this woman was like, oh, okay, young man, tell you what, we'll do the test here. So they did the test on both of us, so it was negative. Then we got onto the plane. And seeing the excitement on his face about this holiday is just what melts my heart. Because what he loves, he genuinely loves. What he doesn't like, he's very indifferent. He's not interested. So we get to Lanzarote, right? So what Coco was the one who booked us, because I'm rubbish at booking anywhere to stay. I look at the price and we end up, rooming with cockroaches and rats. So she got us this villa. So the villa, it had 2 beds and a spacious living room and a dining area and stuff like that. So it was for a bigger family, so you could use the living room as a sleep area. So Rio goes, he doesn't like to sleep with his mom in his room. So what we do is, when we got there, he put all the bags in and he says, "Oh, Mom, so you're sleeping on this bed." So I was kicked.
That's another thing about Rio. It's very direct.
Yeah. So I was kicked out of the bedroom before I could even ask. So what he would do is, and he's such an early riser, and on holidays even terrible. So we got there I think about 3 in the afternoon. So we went to find something to eat. He's excited. We eat some pizza. We ate some pizza and then we went back to the villa. So we said, today we'll just chill and we'll find out. So we went and collected some brochures on, the sites that we could go to see in Lanzarote and stuff like that. So we went back home. So we sat there, and Ray is busy looking at this because he can read and he knows exactly what he wants to see. So there was this where you'd swim with the dolphins, and then there was another one where you could go and see a dolphin exhibition, and there was a theme park, all these things, so the buses would come to the hotel and carry us and go there. So I said, okay, that's fine. You plan the holiday because we're there for a week. So he starting to circle things, some are circled 20 times, but he's...
For emphasis?
Yeah, for emphasis. So anyway, he's excited. So this was the Monday we got there. The Tuesday, he wakes up at 4 in the morning. So bear in mind, I'm using the living room because that's my bedroom, because that's what is assigned to me. He's using the main bedroom. He wakes up, he starts opening all the windows and the curtains at 4 in the morning. I'm like... so then he goes into because he's very self-reliant as well as a person. So he goes, he gets himself some breakfast. This is 4 in the morning. He's finished having his breakfast. He's like, "Mom, let's go for a swim." I'm like, "It's 4 in the morning." I was like, "We're on holiday." Like, yeah, but it's 4 in the morning.
We're on holiday.
Yeah, but it's 4 in the morning.
The rules don't apply when you're on holiday.
No. So anyway, I said to him to chill because I wasn't sure anything was open at 4. So 6 in the morning he comes back. He says, "Is it okay now for us to go?" I said, "Well, let's go and check." So they say to us, 7 they're open. So we went. Ria is such a competent swimmer. He can swim anywhere, deep waters, the sea. He's very good. He actually puts me to shame because when I'm looking at him, I'm just thinking, "You're on your own, buddy. If anything happens, I can't help you." But he's such he loves the water, he loves the outdoors, he loves people in general. So we went, and this was like 7 in the morning, right? We were there 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. He's swimming, he's coming out. Then he had his lunch. Then I said to him, I'm tired. I just want to go and have considering you woke me up at 4 in the morning. He goes, "Oh, okay, then we'll come back later then." I said, "That's fine." So we went back. We had a bit of a nap. He was tired as well. He napped. He woke up at 4. And he was like, "Can we go back to swim again?" So because he's on holiday, I'll take him back. And the thing about him is he lives his life unapologetically, He doesn't let anything get him down or, because sometimes, because he's who he is, he flickers his hands when he's excited and he makes all these sounds when he's really excited. But that doesn't stop him from doing things. It's like, I'm in my lane. I'm staying in my lane. And I've learned, raising Rio, I've learned so many life lessons that if he wasn't my son, I would have never learned. I don't have to explain things to anyone, I don't have to do anything to amuse anyone. If it doesn't make me happy, doesn't make me myself content, I don't want to know. And it was through knowing how Rio lives his life. And, he knows that there's something about him that's different. And he knows he doesn't put it on or anything. And he knows his own limitations as well. Because when we were coming back after the holiday, the thing about him, he gets a bit, of the holiday blues. There were so many queues, right, to get back. And so he went and he tapped one of the ladies and he was like, I've got special needs. I don't want to stay here. And this lady was like, oh, okay. So he took us and all our bags and then he put us, in the pilot's queue, the express queue. And then he spoke to the immigration officer, and the immigration officer was like, oh, young man, come here. And then he came over. We left. So he knows that if I stay here, I'm going to show, he's got so much insight and is very insightful of himself. He doesn't mind queues. He will stay in them if he has to stay in queues, but he knows to ask for help. He knows that this is not going to serve me in the best interest. It's going to make me very upset. So let me go and find somebody before I get to that space, which I'm very appreciative of. And you don't. So that's the thing about parenting. And I think both my children are different, and from both of them I learned different things. And as a parent, the moment we submit to not just being a parent, but also being a learner, you learn a lot from your children. And I have. Rio lives in his lane and he continues to stay in his lane. He likes the same music he's liked since he was born. He doesn't change. Music can come. We've had so many chart hitting. He doesn't listen to all that.
If he likes a new song, it must be a really good song.
Yeah.
Like he picked up Freeman.
Yeah, he loves Freeman. Freeman is one of his favorites.
One Burna Boy song that he picked up. It was, what's this song?
Yes.
And he liked it, but that's very unusual.
It's very unusual. He likes what he likes. Yeah. But when you introduce him to something new, unconsciously as well, because if you try to shove new things down his throat, he will just won't take it. So if you're just playing music, you come and say, what's the name of that song? Then you'll type it into his iPad or into his phone, and then he'll listen to it, and it just makes it. But he's been listening to Jennifer Lopez for the longest time. He's been listening to Beyonce.
Who listens to Jennifer Lopez? Like, I don't know a single person who says, "Oh, I'm a fan."
But that's Rio's icon. Rio loves. He calls him Jennifer. He calls her Jennifer Lopsy. He loves Jennifer Lopsy. You cannot tell Rio that Jennifer Lopsy is not banging, because Rio will not hear that. And he listens. It's on the floor, isn't it? That song that And he likes Black Eyed Peas.
Black Eyed Peas.
Yeah,
when was the last time Black Eyed Peas released a song?
I know, but that's his favorite song, and it doesn't matter how often he's listened to it, he will continue listening to it. And that's what he does. And he used to like, he still likes Lady Gaga.
Yeah.
Lady
he was
Gaga.
playing that the other day.
Poker Face. So he doesn't go with the trends. He's not bothered with what people think of what he's wearing. It's what he likes. And that I admire of him, because he's not a follower. Both of my kids are not followers. They do what they like when they like it. Doesn't matter what a person says or doesn't say. It's their law. They move their bit of their own drum. So what am I saying about parenting? I'm saying, sometimes when you have children, you think it's like you wake up and you say to yourself, today I'm going to go to France, right? And then you get to the airport and you're told, actually, your ticket, you say it's going to France, but you're ending up in Rome. And just making it happen in Rome, just getting on with it a day at a time. And not being too hard on yourself as well, because I know parents are so hard on themselves. And I know I was laughing the other day. I was saying even side chicks were once somebody's baby as well, But I'm not 9 months the side chick. They are children. Our children are going to be whoever they want to become, And it's about us just accepting them that the way they are. It's accepting them. Not saying that there's anything wrong with side chicks. I do love side chicks. I think they're the most amazing people in the world. For the amount you spend on a therapist, you might as well just get yourself a side chick. I love them. They are very useful
Until
people.
They come to side check your situation.
I don't mind them. If I know them, I would actually be.
Anyways, go on.
Yeah. What were you going to say?
I was gonna say, like, what do you think of the attitudes, like, towards neurodivergence, like within our community.
We still have got a long way to go.
Like somebody said, there was this doctor, she was a psychiatrist, and she was saying that, she was a black psychiatrist, and she was saying that a lot of elders within our communities, people would say that, oh, this person may be animal manipul or whatever, but it was just neurodivergence. And that attitude has caused people to be to see like somebody being neurodivergent as a curse or an illness, as opposed to they're just different from you. What do you think of the attitudes towards neurodivergence?
Yeah. I was saying that the moment your child who is neurodivergent sets foot on this planet, it stops being about you or your perceptions of them or society's perceptions of them. Because what you find is that we spend so much time dwelling on things that are not very important. We feel that our children are an extension of a perfect us. So if they don't fit this specific mold that we've made in our head, they are either a curse to us or it was something that we did or whatever, which I think is a very sad way of looking at things, but that's the reality in minority communities. We bring in religion into things that we don't need to bring religion. We try to fix these children. You were born who's there trying to fix you? They're just trying to survive in this very difficult world. But there you are saying, what's that about? I feel that the things that we put focus on, especially when we're autistic, the things that we focus on, why are they autistic? We shouldn't be focusing on that. Focus on your character. Why are you always fighting with people on the internet here, loveness? Why are you always gossiping? Things like that. Those are the things that you need to be looking at. Character flaws, not a person who's living their life through a very different lens, through a very different set of rules. All you just need to do is to learn the rules so that you can support them better. That's what parents should be doing. That's being an idealistic parent. Spending time saying, oh, what is this? It's good. Pray for your own wisdom. If you're going to pray for yourself that God, I have this very different situation. It's different to what I'm used to. Give me the serenity and the strength and the discernment to understand what this child needs. Rather than to pray for them. They've not done anything. They've just arrived on this planet with a very different set of rules than you're used to. So now you need to pray to understand what those rules are. What do they say? What are they? What does it mean to me? The strength to advocate for them in this very difficult, cruel world where people judge anything that they don't understand. That's the thing. That's the prayer. If you want to be praying, that's the prayer that you need. The strength, the discernment, the ability, the knowledge, and the courage to challenge all these things that your child is going to Rio used to love these things called Thomas Tank Engines. I wasn't frightened to fight any 2-year-old if they took my son's Thomas the Tank Engine.
He would know. He had like so many.
Yeah.
He had like 50, but he would know.
No, if one of them went missing. I've gotten in many brawls with 2-year-olds.
Who wanted to play.
Who wanted to take them away from him. So those are the things that you have to. It's your duty of care to your child. That's what you want to pray for, not to pray for them to change or to heal from something that is not a disease. Healing should be for everything else. Us as a community, as Zimbabweans, we need to heal from Nangagwa's reign. Those are the things that you need to pray for. Praying kuti mwana ari autistic achinje, I think it's a waste of a prayer. It's a waste of a prayer. There are things that we need to pray for. Why is it that some people are leaving Zimbabwe as number open a bank account? Those things or a tap. Or seeing running water in your own country, Pikiru. Those are the things that we need to focus and have a prayer day as a nation. But when it comes to these children that we are given by God, who come operating on a different wavelength than us, let's just tap into that wavelength and see what we can do to support them. That's my honest to God belief. Because you can't pray autism away.
Because another thing is what I think is, normality. It's so overrated because there's so much, like Rio, for instance. Rio is not, he hasn't got hate for any single person.
No.
He's not racist.
No.
He's not sexist. He's not homophobic. He hasn't got all of these things that we teach each other as society.
Which we think are
normal. You can't even teach him those things because
he
does not pick up on
things like that.
Things like that. So there's so many things that we take so much pride in, like as people, that this is normal.
Exactly.
But
it's
really not.
My son, and I will say this with so much pride. My son is an example of a good citizen. He doesn't take what is not given. Rio will not gossip about anything. He does not lie. He can't lie. If he lies, it does things to him until he's told the truth.
It makes him really anxious.
So, if I was to, to return him for another child, I'll still pick my Rio any day, because he's the most kindest person I've ever come across. In the morning, sometimes life, and so you wake up in the morning and you think, do I really need this job? You drag yourself through it and you leave without saying good morning. You open his window as soon as he sees you get into the car, and he'll say, see you later, alligator, and you're like, in a while, crocodile, but that's my Rio. That's him. His outlook on life is always positive. He does get upset. The only thing that I've known Rio get upset, he doesn't like anyone being born. Birthdays are his thing. He doesn't understand why.
The only person to ever be born.
He doesn't understand why people should be, celebrating birthdays.
But then that's also like a reflection of how humans are.
Yeah.
Humans are naturally self-centered.
Yes.
And we try to make ourselves not come across self-centered.
Yeah.
So I think that's part of the humanity.
So that's the self-centeredness seeping through.
Yeah.
That's the only time you'll see Rio does not like people celebrating their birthdays if it's not his birthday. Everything has to be about Rio's birthday. No one can, before August comes, no one should be born. That kind of thing. But ultimately, he's such a cool chap. He's my guy, and I've got so much pride in being his mom.
Aww.
So he's an amazing person, an amazing being.
What about me, Mom?
Yeah,
my turn. What do you have to say about me, guys? How was it?
How did I?
How was the teenage years of raising?
Raising. The thing is, also, I think raising you is different from raising Rio. You were a fully fledged teenager. Rio is almost 16, but I don't remember Rio ever staying out or what Coco was a good girl.
Wait, before we even go, what Mom wants to say, but she doesn't want to cook me, is that I was boy crazy.
Yeah. No. You are not boy crazy. I don't think you are just an average teenager, like every other teenager. What I was trying to say was, when you're raising teenagers, it's different to raising any other human beings. They've got everything that an adult has. They've got the fully formed boobs. They've got everything, but just no common sense. You see, the only thing that's lacking in raising a teenager is the common sense, and they are so they are so narrow-minded and very. They're not very focal. They're very like that. So now, when you're raising them, I think you have to have a lot of grace and an infinite amount of forgiveness and turning a blind eye on things. Because I remember Coco has got a very good friend that used to be our neighbor as well. So we once had a party for one of my friends. So we had leftover alcohol. So you know what it is like. Leftover alcohol in teenagers. So she decided to have an after party, right, at my house with her friend and their friends, using the excess alcohol. And the thing is about teenagers, they think they are so smart that you can't see any of the things that they're doing. But you are seeing it, but you don't want to see, you don't want to also. So I think,
because you do your SWOT analysis.
You do your
isn't
SWOT
it?
analysis.
And you're like, oh, you know what? If they're gonna be drinking, it's better that they do it here
In the house.
where they think I can't see what
exactly.
they're doing.
Because the thing is, what you need to know is about teenagers is everything that you think they are not doing, they are doing. So if you think they are not drinking, they're definitely drinking. If you think they are not smoking weed, they're definitely smoking weed. So everything you think, surely they can't be doing this, they are doing it. So what you need to do is, during those times, have a lot of grace. If the crime is not a very bad crime, turn a blind eye on it, because you will. Kids were sent to kill their parents during the teenage years. So if you're one of those parents who are very uptight, they will kill you. Teenagers will kill you. So I learned from a very young age, or from a very young time when I was raising this one, to not sweat the small stuff, not, be shouting at everything that I see, because your voice will go. And it doesn't mean that they're going to stop doing what they're doing. So
They'll just do it and not tell you.
Not tell you. So
Change the venue.
Exactly. Just change the venue. So I thought, you know what? If they're going to do any debauchery, let them do it in my house. At least I've got a narrative. I've got an oversight on how far this debauchery can go. It's different to your child going to somebody's house where we don't know, and you don't know what's going to happen there. But having said that, we're all going to make very bad mistakes with our children. As parents, we need to learn to know that we are not infallible. Because one thing that I find in our community, we do not like saying sorry to our children. Apologizing. A parent would rather die than say sorry to their children. Never. And that hurts relationships, because our children are also emotional beings. So sometimes in our meaning well, we end up not getting it right. So to me, apologizing is accountability. Apologizing is not weakness. It's teaching your children to be accountable when they then hurt other people along the way. That if my mother can say sorry to me or apologize to me, what makes me not be able to apologize to others? So that's one thing I think where, as family, as parents of teenagers or young adults, we fail miserably. This business of, you are sitting on this pedestal, and because you are there, you cannot be questioned or asked or challenged. Let's allow our children to also have a conversation with us, even the difficult ones. I don't think, you can answer that. I don't think I shy away too much from difficult conversations. No. But I've had to learn along the way. I think I've had to learn along the way, though. So difficult conversations is that's where we shine as parents. When things are easier, where you are parenting a very easy child who goes to school, comes back home, goes to their room, your parenting skills are never challenged by those. Your parenting is challenged by children with challenges, and who will challenge you at every corner. I didn't raise followers, so obviously I'm going to get pushback on some of the things that I lay down as law. So that's where you need to know as a parent when to fold or when to carry on. Right. So it's the questions I think if I was to give any new parent or a parent who's giving their child is turning 13 this year is it worth it? Is it harmful? Are they going to die from it? Am I going to die from it? Does it look like it's something that I need to challenge? Those 5, if you've got those 5 in your toolbox, you don't need anything else. Is it worth it? Yes, it's worth it. I'm going to challenge it. No, it's not worth it. It's only a jumper.
My argument, is like, how do you know that the kid's going to grow out of it? Because the person I was when I was a teenager is so different from the person I am as an adult. And how do you know your child's not going to turn out as a crackhead? There are different schools of thought, and I've heard all of them, and I think all of them are valid. Some people say your children are not your friends. Allow your children to hate you because it's whatever you're doing is in their best interest. So during the teenage years, if you fight as much as you can, when they come out of it, they'll be grateful for you. But
I'm a realist, isn't it? I think sometimes, these fights, because fights are fights, and somebody's going to come out there wounded.
Yeah.
And
sometimes you don't remember the context, but you just remember the person hurt you.
Yeah, you remember the person.
You could have actually been the dick.
There you go. Yeah.
Story, but you will remember.
So it's that's where the discerning spirit comes. It's easy to say these things, that you shouldn't be a child's friend. Okay, if there's one of those late bloomers who really don't know how to make friends, and they only want you to validate their feelings, validate their emotions, and if you're going to be that parent who says so also look at the child you're raising before you take these self-helps. Now, if your child is really, really struggling, sometimes you have to go away from the script, go and rewrite a new script for that specific teenager. If he's one of those teenagers, you're quite popular, you had many friends, you were not struggling that much. So then I can go with my rule of 5. Is it worth it? Do I feel that today I've got time? Because sometimes you actually go, today I got time course. So let's.
I'm thinking, yo, shit.
Let's get it on. So it's about reading the situation, and also stay away from this business of comparing your children.
And
don't do that.
About your kids
and don't gossip about your children. Don't do that. Those are the 2 cardinal sins that, if anything, if you don't take anything I've said in this podcast, take those 2. Don't gossip about your children. Do not compare your children to other children. Because some of the children you compare your children to, you don't have the full picture. You have this picture that the parent is selling to you or selling to the community. You've got, because mothers and fathers are really your first brand consultants and image consultants. We build such a rosy-colored picture of our children. That sometimes people buy into that Kool-Aid, and then they start going, Janet, Linda. And because parents know how to sell their children to people. So you get into the game as well. If you're about that, get into the game. Sell your child as well. Do that for your child if that is what you want. But what you cannot do is compare your child to another child, number 1. Number 2, this business of bitching about your children to people, stop it. It's, those people, if they're parents too, what you're just doing is making their day. You're just
gossiping about your kids is crazy.
It's weird. It's really weird.
It's very common.
I don't know why people do that. If you're struggling with your child, because some children are really challenging, and I get that. Some children are really, really challenging to the extent that you need to vent. Go into therapy. Keep it confidential. There's nothing as terrible as your child walking down the road, having a lovely day, and some parent going, you're thinking, so the whole community knows that. Be very careful about what you say about your children also, because ultimately, whether you like it or not, we are our children's first role models, and everything that they do is to try and please us, consciously or unconsciously. Even when they're fighting us, it's purely because maybe they are not able to meet our unrealistic expectations. But our children never set out to hate us. When they're now starting to hate us, they would realize we're an op. Because now when they go in the streets and their business is all in the streets, they are realizing is the mother. Then there is a problem. So I think let's parent our children according to our children's needs, not according to what a pastor says. Because some of the worst and problematic children are PKs. Pastors' children, they are terrible.
Every PK I know is wild.
Yes.
Every
so
single
don't,
one of them.
A parent, whatever station they are in the world, they're still also trying to figure it. Whether they're pastors, rabbis, Beyonce or whoever, they're all
pastors, rabbis, or Beyonce.
Yeah, they're all struggling with this thing called, yes, they're all struggling to raise their children. We are all in this together. So don't look at another person as if they figured it out. They haven't. Fairly recently, there was a beautiful young woman who died in our community, and I was thinking, they were doing everything right, this couple, because I knew the wife. I knew the lady who died. I knew the in-laws of the lady that died. And, there are some children who are exemplary, who just get on with it. They finish, college, they go to uni, they get a degree, they get married, they buy a house. They were achieving all these milestones. They were doing everything that they needed to do. So in terms of their parents, I think they were in cruise. The parents were cruising away nicely. Then boom, the wife dies, you see. Now, that level of parenting your child out of grief, parenting your child out of what do I do with all these children I've been left with, that's a different ball game to play to. They don't have the manual to that. And no one can tell them that, you see. So our challenges as parents, our challenges as children are very, very different. Some children will cruise through life, then hit such a huge traumatic experience that you don't even know how you're going to rise to that occasion. So parents, don't envy other parents with children who are doing well and yours are struggling, and think, because you don't know around the corner what this child who's been doing so well is going to hit.
Or the context.
Or the context of it. Why they're like that. Because we don't have context. We don't have the future to read into. We've got nothing. We're just going by what we are seeing now and we're thinking, and right now you're now left with your child who you despise because they're annoying. They come in home late. But they are trying. And they are there, they are alive. So let's celebrate life with our children and note whatever it is that today is your challenge, tomorrow will not. I never thought Coco is going to be the mother that she's become. Sometimes you think, did I raise you in a commune? Why do you behave like a child was raised in a cult? I used to think that sometimes when I looked at her. The free love, the free everything, the laissez-faire, tomorrow is not today, let's just live for the moment. Peace, love, and harmony. I'm not like that. I'm very highly wired, strung. I don't know how to relax. And there you have a child who, any moment I relax out, they'll be on the floor like this. Why are you like that? Because I'm not like that. But in that particular moment, you see some children who you think, this is my daughter, who was switched at birth. They are very highly strung as you. They finish everything they started and they are so tensed up as people. You think, I like that one.
But that's a trauma response though.
There you go. To me, I'm this way because it's a trauma response. To me, I'm this way because I'm scared of failure, you see. But I'm not frightened of failure for my children. My children, I do not want them to ever think that I'm that kind of a parent who will only view them as a success when they're being successful. Them waking up in the morning and doing this life without any other extra responsibilities is good enough for me. I pray every day, and every day when I wake up, that's the prayer. If I forget to pray for anything, is that, Lord, grant me the joy of absolving the pain of bearing any of my children. That's one of the pains I'm frightened of. Anything else is a bonus. When they wake up and they're being absolute pieces of crap, that's fine, but they are there. And sometimes you laugh at the things. Sometimes you look back at them and they were not as catastrophic as you thought they were. So parents, take a day as it comes. And your children are not part of the handmaiden's tale. They're not all wearing red. They're different. They are unique. They're special in their own way. Those parents who like showing how good their children are to other parents, F you. Because you're the ones who want to put pressure on everyone. Raise your children, in those weird and realistic ways. Because some of these children, when they leave their houses, they become, feral animals.
Like different people.
There you go. Because you just think, so let's let children blossom with guidance. And guidance shouldn't be rigid. Isusu vana vamnangagwa takakura in a very hand-fisted, unodzvanyirirwa pasi. Let's not bring that into the way we raise our children, because I think it's not fair. It's really not fair. And also the other thing is, parents like this thing, and I don't subscribe to it. Once it starts, I take my bag and I exit to the left. When people start doing this exchange of notes, ninga akarora doctor, yeah, ninga neurophysicist. So you now think, what have I done with my children?
Yeah.
You know, don't do that. Don't partake panorangana wakaipa. Don't be in those places where you come living thinking, what has my child done? Your child.
But they know the intention in which, I don't think there's anything wrong with speaking well of your children or sharing their accomplishments, but if you're doing it to piss someone off, they will be, you know what you're doing, and you say it in a certain way. The same way that it's sharing your accomplishments and trying to piss someone off are two completely different things.
They are.
And when they're doing that, they're even probably adding seasoning,
They
salt
are.
and pepper.
Exactly.
And it's for the purpose of thinking that they have to, you know, show
So for
people how
exactly.
keeping up with the Jones.
So for your mental health, any WhatsApp group or any aunties group where people go in there and they start putting their first class children's degrees, and you feel that it's not doing anything for your soul and it's stopping you from being the best parent you can be, you can exit to the left, love. You don't have to be in those places. Our children are unique. They are different. And some children burn so brightly because their life is short. So if you were to choose that child and raise them to 30 and never see them after 30, or have your child do struggles, but they're going to live until they're 70, you're going to leave them here, they'll figure it out. Children will figure it out. Unless if they're doing something criminal and something terrible, or they're harming other people, then there is a problem. But if they're just struggling in their own little space, see them through if you can, edge them on if you can. Don't put too much pressure, because pressure has never done anything but cook somebody. You know, so we need to be very, very careful. And let's love our children. They are our children. That girl you're looking at because it's going to medical school, is somebody else's child. You know. So let's just leave it at that. Because anything, you're now envious. Yeah, you're now envious of other people's children. Leave it.
Allow it, bro.
Leave it. Allow it. You know. Love your children with their flaws, warts, and all. Vana vedu tistakavazvara. You carried them 9 months. The side chicks need love too. Vakadzi vechitu need love too. The ones who decide to become OnlyFans. You know, there's been an uptake of these girls who do OnlyFans and porn just killing themselves. Today there was another one.
Like they are
unaliving, yeah.
They go and
unalive themselves. Yeah, because again, it's just
not easy life.
It's
like,
not an
I
easy
feel
life.
Like, you know, when it comes to even Instagram, like if you're a baddie and you've made your whole self-image and self-worth against like how you look, and through men like praising you or giving you money in exchange for them thinking you're attractive, that does a number on your self-worth. And also, now you
know,
think that
if
you're only worth.
If your self-worth is measured by likes, it's going to be a very difficult life. That's where we need to come in as parents and give our children safe spaces, regardless of what they choose as a career. You know, because at the end of the day, the only unjudgmental love a child should ever get is from their parents, regardless of what they're doing. Even if they turned out today and said they want to do OnlyFans and they're going to, you know, spread for men, I'm going to love them regardless, because that's what I'm supposed to do. Yes, I will say I'm not very happy with your career choice, but I'm going to love you through it, because that's the only thing you can do. You can love your children.
And sometimes if your parents told you not to do something, you want to do it even more.
You want to do it even more. There's something about being stopped.
That's psychology.
Yeah, it's the forbidden fruit, isn't it? Yeah. So it
reminds me of when George is like, Mommy, walk, Mommy, walk.
There you go. Look, yeah, you know, when you were younger, you used to say, Mashamiskwa. Like, are you surprised? Or shall I do more to surprise you? You know. So, yeah. So if you had to take anything from this parenting podcast we've been doing, is love your children. Don't see them through other people's lenses. Don't gossip about them. And don't compare them. They are your children.
Period.
So again, if you haven't subscribed but you've been back here 3-4 times, I'm coming to your house and putting that finger on the subscribe button. No, thank you guys who will keep on coming back, listening to our rubbish. You are amazing. We love you. Comment, like, subscribe. Let's start a conversation, and I'll read your comments and see what you're talking about, and I will come back with answers if I can.
Peace in the Middle East.
Bye.